Hello and welcome to the Wisconsin Drunken History Podcast. We are your hosts, Eric Sturgeon.
And I'm Russell Sorry.
This podcast is about all things Wisconsin, history, music, and culture.
While drinking a few brews.
Though we don't often use strong language, the jokes and the content is not intended for young audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Before we begin the episode, we have to give a huge shout out to the Dangits from Madison, Wisconsin, for providing us with great bluegrass intro you hear at the beginning of every episode. The song Razzle was written by Jamie Lampkins, but is performed on behalf of Tom Wasselchuk and the Dangits. If you have a chance, check these guys out at dang-its.com for upcoming shows, music, or on how to book them for weddings, parties, and etc. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 23. I am Eric.
I am Russ.
This is officially the final episode of our Halloween series. Let us know what you thought about the entire Halloween segments and stories on either Instagram or Facebook. Today's main story is the Bosak cow alien encounter. We also have great Wisconsin music from Motel Breakfast, another edition of How Many Loco You At? And This Day in Wisco History, along with a tasty beer review and a special interview with Working Draft Brewery. Without further ado, here's the story about the Bosak cow alien encounter.
So before I begin this episode, a huge shout out to Rob Morphy. And for those who aren't aware who he is, Rob is a legend in the field of cryptozoology. I first heard about Rob and his amazing writing with Mysterious Universe. The guy is an amazing wordsmith, and he's very well spoken. He does his research very well. So if you're looking for some weird topics, I recommend going over there, including the one we're going to discuss today. He did the main research for this. He actually contacted some of the people that were involved, and he wrote an article for Mysterious Universe. And so I'm actually referencing this, so I wanted to give him a huge shout out. And it's kind of a obscure legend, and I know concluding the Halloween series with this episode, but if you want to hear more obscure stories about aliens, cryptids, and all things paranormal, please go and check out Rob's podcast with Mark Storrs and Chris Carnacelli called the Cryptonaut Podcast. It's a really awesome podcast. I love it. It's really good. It's one of those ones that gets you through the day. You know, they joke around, they sip brewskis, and you're going to laugh. So if you're in the office, make sure you keep those chuckles low because people will look at you like you're a madman.
Yeah, exactly.
So without further ado, I'm going to begin the story, and it begins on October 2nd, 1974 in the town of Frederick in Polk County. A dairy farmer by the name of William Bosak was driving home after a co-op meeting around 10 p.m. How Wisconsin is that?
That's a little co-op meeting.
There was a chill in the air and a slight fog that night. On a rural road around 10:30, Bosak was on his way back to his 450-acre farm when he noticed an object hovering in front of him. Bosak, attempting to get a better look, began to slow down. As he approached the flying object, he realized how large the craft really was, nearly 10 foot, with windows that exposed all the flashing lights in the illuminated interior. This is where Bosak spotted the creature in his headlights, and he describes it. I can remember it just as if it were yesterday. A little taller than a tall man. I could see a figure with its arms raised above its head. He was looking out the window, and it was different kind of character than you'd see on Earth. It looked a good deal like a man, but it had a different looking face than anything you'd see. It had a kind of cow-looking face, dark tan fur, except for its face and chin. It had a square face with hair sticking straight out from the sides. The ears stuck out from the head, and 3 inches, and the eyes were large and protruding. The ears were calf-like. And it's pretty weird. It's hard to explain it, so actually I used some of Rob's art. Rob is also a really talented artist.
Yeah.
And he did a really good drawing of the Bosak humanoid. And there were some newspaper clippings that somebody else did that we also are going to include on our website. So if you want to see what this thing looks like, super weird, super bizarre, but...
And I've seen some weird stuff down at the local Walmart. I mean...
Did you see a cow alien?
Weird cow faces, women with pig noses and stuff, and guys with... just larger than normal guts and stuff. So, I mean, this seems normal to me right now, other than the spacecraft.
Right.
So, let's continue.
Obviously frightened and shaken, Bosak started that the creature appeared to be just as frightened as he was. Though the encounter lasted a matter of seconds, for Bosak it felt much longer. And that's like everything. Like when something really crazy happens in your life, it feels like...
It could be minutes, but it really felt like,
Yeah.
hours.
And after getting over his initial shock, but still in a state of panic, Bosak attempted to get the hell out of there. His whip took a major shit, his lights started to dim, and the engine began to die. Bosak then heard a soft whooshing followed by a loud scraping. His car seemed to return to normal when he again pressed the accelerator to the floor. He managed to arrive safely at home, where he began to settle down and try to make sense of the encounter. He knew people would think he was crazy loon if he told anyone, so he decided that he would keep it quiet and even hid it from his wife. I was so gall darn scared I was afraid to go out at night for a few days. And I mean, that's with like a lot of encounters. I mean, people see weird stuff and they never report it because you think you're nuts.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is you kind of fear just the backlash and the perception with you telling stories like this. People just won't believe you. But outside of that, it's not just they won't believe you. They're also probably going to, ridicule.
Yeah.
They'll probably,
he's
really,
a drunk.
really make fun.
He
and
was
stuff.
on acid.
Exactly. They'll make large assumptions that are crazy beyond just, hey, maybe he just saw a cow and there was like a flashlight behind it or something. They're going to go as far as that you just said: alcohol, drugs.
Yeah,
he's
right.
Just,
The
he's got a
MO,
crazy brain.
Right. And so obviously sleep was out of the question that night. So the next morning, to make sure he wasn't losing his mind, he decided to check out the scene of the encounter. Of course, there was nothing to be found except a 6-foot diameter spot in the grass that had been flattened by the craft. Due to all this swirling in his head, 3 weeks after the incident, he finally decided he was enough and confided in his wife and told her the entire story. I wish that somebody had been in the car with me at the time. I should have stopped and tried to show I was friendly. I wish I could meet up with him again. I don't know if I would do that technically.
Hey, I'm not going out of my way to do that.
A bovine alien is not something you really want to chill with.
Well, it's creepy. I mean, you don't know. He said towards the beginning of this story that he seemed friendly. He seemed just as scared as Bosak was, but you don't know that.
And he really wasn't going for publicity, as you'll find out. After he told his family, his story was leaked, so somebody in the family broke the seal and told someone. And the word of the encounter spread throughout Polk County and even appeared in the St. Paul Pioneer Press. I'm sure a ton of gossip occurred. Obviously, like we said, was he drunk, high on drugs? Was he crazy? Was he a whack dog? I mean...
Yep.
He was approached by a UFO research group where he recalled the encounter. He had an excellent reputation in the community as being an honest man, but even this did not sway the community from being skeptical and making him the butt of the jokes. In Bozak's own word, "You know how the neighbors are. They questioned it. The editor in town didn't believe it. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be skeptical after hearing what happened to me, but if people don't believe me, I'll take a lie detector test to prove that this isn't just something I made up. There are other people that had seen something like that right in this area." Unfortunately, on December 2nd, 1996, at the age of 90, William Bosak passed away, exactly 22 years after the encounter, which is pretty coincidental. It's kind of weird.
It's weird, definitely. I don't know if you can say it's anything more than coincidence, or, like we've had a couple other UFO type stories and probing type stories where the person, they end up, being like better at healing, and they definitely like aged differently with their skin than they had been before.
It just a really weird encounter. And I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. If I have to take a probe, a cow hoof is not something I want anywhere near my orifices.
I think I'd rather have some sort of a being with fingers and digits than a hoof.
So Eric, after hearing this, what are your initial thoughts? Like, what do you think this was?
Well, my initial thoughts are maybe just a cow, but he said it was tall. I'm sure he knew that it was a biped. What is it? A biped? So something that walks on two legs. Cows don't do that, so it's pretty unexplainable at this point.
I think what really gets me is the craft more than anything.
Exactly, and yeah, so that's a great point.
He did give a sketch of the craft, which we'll also share too. And I mean, like, I'm obviously a skeptical person, and taking somebody's word is tough for me because I have not experienced it. But at the same time, I can't discredit this guy. And, for me, I'm a little skeptical because of how many cows we have in Wisconsin and being shrouded by fog. I mean, you see a cow in your headlight really quick in the fog, and then you like get freaked out and just.
Well, especially if you're not expecting it to be in that location, and your headlights happen to catch it in the fog and everything, and then all of a sudden you're like, holy moly, the hell was that?
Right.
But the craft is the one thing, like you said, not really easily explained.
And like other encounters too. I mean, the car is kind of disengaged by the craft itself. And the one thing that adds a lot of credit is he never wanted to go public with this because he didn't want people to know about it.
Yeah, you can definitely put a little bit of backing behind that he's not out, to make money off of this encounter, and he's not, looking to get, his 15 seconds of fame or whatever. But at the same time, I mean, the craft could just be the thing that he added to the story in order to try to make it seem worse than it was. When you've got, like we had explained just a minute ago, you're driving home. He's got probably a crappy farm truck.
Right.
So he's driving. His car starts to act a little bit funky. He happens to turn down a rural road, like you said, and it's foggy. His headlights just happen to catch some sort of a bovine, cow or, whatever, maybe in a spot that he wasn't expecting it to be. And now all of a sudden he's freaked out. He doesn't really know exactly how to handle it. So maybe he just adds the craft as that piece that's like, I need to somehow tie this all together so that way I don't look like a fucking idiot.
Exactly. And I mean, I drive rustic roads a lot. I like driving through the country sometimes, and I've seen loose cows right in the middle of the road.
It happens.
So it's not unlikely that's what it could be. And like I said, I'm skeptical, but honestly, I don't think we'll ever know the truth behind the story because we weren't there to experience it. So it's another one. It's a really obscure case. I thought we should feature it. Obviously, Wisconsin has a lot of weird lore and legends.
Oh, yeah.
This one is not a very well-known one.
Yeah, and things like this, although they happen kind of frequently where you hear stories of some sort of an encounter, I mean, if I were ever in this situation and it was me telling, my firsthand account of the whole situation, I would hope that somebody would at least believe me a little bit and not call me a lunatic. So that's what we really like to do in this case as well. We get it. We're trying to explain it away as a potential, just, hey, it's a mishap. You saw something, it spooked you, cool. But there's also that small percentage that it was a real, encounter with something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, and that's going to conclude the main story for today. But we do want to say thank you for tuning into the Halloween series. If you have a suggestion for us, something you'd want to cover, obviously our state has a lot of like macabre things that have happened. I mean, we're not going to cover the main ones, but obviously like Dahmer, Gacy, you got serial killers, you got weird cryptids. We got a lot of really crazy stuff that happened in the state.
And those are all down the line. We do have a list of items that we know we want to cover, but we would really appreciate, and maybe that's something we do as we post something on Facebook, trying to draw some of these, other examples from other people.
Yeah, but we thank you again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you really like the Halloween series, maybe we'll feature a few weird ones throughout the year as we go on with the podcast. But thanks again, and that's going to conclude the main story for today.
And we actually have a music segment as well, as we always do. So today's artist is Motel Breakfast. Very cool music. I love this stuff. And again, like we said on last week's episode, we're just amazed that we continue to get these really, really top-notch artists.
Yeah.
I just can't believe that that's something that they would, obviously it's free publicity. It's just, hey, another means for people to find out about this music. And, we have a pretty substantial, I guess, crowd now and audience. So something that's really fun for them to get out there and maybe a whole new audience that hadn't heard of them can discover their music and hopefully be changed by it. So again, Motel Breakfast, they're currently releasing different singles for what I believe is going to be an album but they've been releasing singles like for the past few weeks, and one of them is "Yelling at the Moon," and we thought, how fitting.
Right.
This is the Halloween series, "Yelling at the Moon." This just feels great. So again, this is Motel Breakfast, and the song is "Yelling at the Moon."
Silver flasks and walking shoes, 'cause I never liked old country tunes. Summer nights when the streets were still brand new. Dead oak trees and taco trucks, I hadn't planned on falling in love. I just wanted to be good to you. So give me back my yesterday, before you took my heart away. Sunsets still had a golden hue. Most people suck at love, but I'm afraid I said too much, so forget it. Let's keep yelling at the moon. Red wine and marijuana, we can get married if you wanna. There's no rush, let's wait a year or two. Weekend trips and inside jokes, acting like we're not both broke. No future set, we don't have a clue. I wish I had those yesterdays, 'cause here in my arms you'd lay. Waves crash along the shore so blue. But now you're somewhere else, with a brand new sense of self, and I can't help but be happy for you. Happy tears and well wishes, we broke too many promises. I hope we can see each other soon. Lonely nights and cigarettes, I lost all my winning bets. I should've went all in on you. So here's to future yesterday, 'cause we can look back and say, I'm glad that I ended up with you. Yeah, most people suck at love, but I thank the stars above for the time I shared with you.
All right, that was Motel Breakfast, Yelling at the Moon. Again, they've been releasing new singles throughout this whole last few weeks and few months too. Hopefully, putting that all together into a album. Definitely check them out.
Yeah, with COVID coming up too, just all the creativity that's out there right now, because people have more time on their hands working from home, so it's like just amazing stuff is coming out.
Exactly. So continue to support, reach out, check them out on Spotify and Apple Music, YouTube. I know they have some I think some official music videos and stuff that they've recorded on there as well. So now we have a beer review.
And we got a great one today. It's Door County Brewing Company's Vacation. Welcome to Vacation Land beer. It is a juicy IPA at 6.2% ABV. The can's really awesome. I'm going to just state that right away. It's really cool. It actually has the map of Door County on it, featuring a lot of things you can do there, like cross-country skiing. There's like boats, cherries, just kind of your stereotypical Door County things you would do.
Yeah.
And before I talk about the beer, if you don't know, Door County Brewing Company is located in Bailey's Harbor, Wisconsin. So if you actually get up there, go and check this place out. They have really good beer. And now about the beer. So the beer is a juicy IPA. And initially when I opened the can, the IPA aroma comes through really well. Like you get that hop that just hits your nose. It's really hop forward. And
it's not like overly bitter either though. With the juicies, that's kind of the typical take though, is that they're not like really overly hopped. They're not super bitter. They definitely leave a really nice taste. It's not, I don't want to say that it leaves juice in your mouth because it doesn't do that. However, it leaves a refreshing type, after.
Yeah, it's a really minimal bitterness to me, and it has like almost a softer mouthfeel to it. So it kind of has like the watered down IPA, and it's 6.2%, which you would never guess drinking this,
And that's pretty aggressive. 6.2 is pretty good for an IPA.
Yeah, I mean,
normally you would see like doubles start to hit, in that 7 range. So this being 6.2 is actually really decently by volume. So
yeah, it's pretty good. It has I'm getting a little bit of like, maybe there must be like some kind of like an oat in here because it has like that creaminess to it. So I wonder if they maybe brewed it with a little oat.
Maybe that's that juice that it leaves in your mouth.
Oh God. But I'm going to read there's a little excerpt on the can. Our beautiful peninsula known as Cape Cod of the Midwest has been a destination since National Geographic introduced it to the world, to its unique and charming beauty in the 1960s. And I've only been to Door County a couple times in my life. And it's one of those things like, when you live in Wisconsin, you don't get to do a lot of the really expensive things like the Illinois people come up to do.
Yeah.
So it's like once in a while kind of thing. And, we always make jokes about how everything's Lake Geneva to us. So you got like Lake Geneva, you got Door County Lake Geneva, Wisconsin Dells Lake Geneva,
right.
Minocqua Lake Geneva, Bayfield Lake Geneva. It's like
it is. That's what's crazy is that all of those areas typically are for tourists alike. And I've lived in Wisconsin for nearly 30 years, and I've never been to Door County. And I think that speaks kind of the truth to the whole thing is that it's for the tourists.
Right, it's a little more upscale. I'm kind of grungy, so I don't really fit in with that crowd. I would
feel weird there.
I've been to those places. I've been to all those areas, and I never really got into the touristy thing. But I really do want to get up there and check out this brewery because this beer is fantastic.
Well,
I know good.
We featured another one of their beers as well, and that one again was just a really good beer. I think it was Pallet Jack, and that one, we're 2 for 2 on this. I mean, they're great beers, and I would love to see their facility. I'd love to speak with some of the individuals that have a real I guess a real knack for creating these really delicious beers.
Yeah, and I know it's a Halloween season, and I hope me and my co-host can get to Washington Island to go to Nielsen's, which is a haunted bar that they have on the island.
Sure,
there.
Yeah.
And I want to join the Bitters Club. You have to take a shot of bitters, and you get to join the Bitters Club because
that's gross.
Yeah, we're probably going to do an episode on this because it was a way of getting around Prohibition, and we'll do an episode on this at some point.
Taking a shot of bitters was a way to get around Prohibition.
It gets you drunk, and that was pretty much it. They could get around it by selling it as a medicine, basically.
One really quick thing, I do know that there is a cure for hiccups. That is, you soak a lime wedge in bitters, and then you suck the whole thing down. You squeeze the lime juice and the bitters that are soaked into your mouth, and it's supposedly and I've used it a couple times, so
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. And we have another edition of How Many Local You At?
So this article happened on September 26th of this year, 2020. 2 people have been arrested after a vehicle pursuit leads to a crash into a house on Wausau's west side Saturday afternoon. The crash was on North 1st Avenue and West Union Avenue. Officers tell the news channel that the driver and passenger in the vehicle sustained minor injuries and were arrested. The owner tells the news station no one inside the home was injured. Luckily, they were not there, and it could have been much worse because they do have children, and there were children outside playing at the time. And one woman says, our hearts were racing for the family. And another person said, it's a great family that lives here, and they have found somewhere to live right. So they have to find somewhere to live right now. So as a landlord, that's hard. And the family is now without a place to stay. The house was basically destroyed. It was taken off the foundation from the crash, which is just nuts.
I mean, some of the pictures just look just devastating.
The house is like wiped out. These guys,
Oof.
And the owner says this is going to be a very long rebuild process for the family who lives here and for us. This is not what we got into business for, and that's the landlord speaking there. And I mean, these guys had to be speeding. The house was taken off the foundation. The house is actually leaning over. The whole house is leaning. The roof is leaning
crazy.
On its side.
It literally looks like one of those barns that you see out in the middle of nowhere that is just, it's completely fallen over. The roof is kind of on top, leaning all the way to the ground. The house looks just absolutely disgustingly screwed up.
This was a 4 local tornado. Happened to this house.
I was just going to say, I mean, geez, some tornadoes don't even do this type of damage.
No, this was a malt liquor whirlwind.
This guy took his Hyundai just straight through the foundation.
He's lucky he didn't Hyundai.
He's lucky he did not Han Solo.
Han Solo out.
Yeah.
But the 2 were arrested. And like I'm just thinking of a 4 local level to destroy a house.
Yeah, and we don't have.
They're two guys, I think, that were in the car.
And it's a relatively recent thing, so there's not too much known about it yet.
Right.
The news programs are still trying to reach out and get all of the info regarding the incident. However, as we do on this show, we are going to speculate how many locos these individuals were drinking, and
I don't know.
You already basically said. I mean, this is
devastation.
This is a 16 loco tornado.
Yeah, this is. I was thinking 4 or 5 cans of loco. So I think it's 16 is probably fair to say. But this is a malt liquor massacre. Luckily, nobody was injured. Honestly, this is just insanity. But yeah, I'd say 16 loco, and it's kind of a shame, honestly, that something like this happens. It happens often here.
Oh yeah, far too often than it should. I mean, I'm with you. I think 16 loco is definitely in the wheelhouse. I mean, maybe a little less, possibly a little more, but 16 loco seems fitting. This house is absolutely destroyed. This guy is in deep shit.
Yeah, definitely lucky you didn't kill anyone. And I honestly think, though, it's probably like a dude's night out that went just awry.
Yep.
You're like, oh, we'll have one more pitcher over here. One more pitcher, and then you find yourself 10 pitchers deep, and you are loco.
Yeah, and now it's, late at night. You shouldn't have been out that late. You shouldn't have had that many pitchers of loco. And
pitchers of loco. That is hell.
Yeah.
One pitcher of loco would just riggedy wreck any normal human being. That is insanity.
Oh, man.
Could you imagine? Yeah, I'll take a pitcher of watermelon loco. Oof.
Yeah, that's gross. Yeah. You got any more of that 4 Loko gasoline flavor? Or monkey shit or whatever we called it before? Yeah, that's bad. Yeah,
real bad.
I think we're settled. This is a 16.
And this next segment is This Day in Wisconsin History, and it's a devastating day. On this date, on October 25th, in 1909, there was an explosion at the Pabst Brewing Company. The boiler from the main house exploded, devastating 3 stories at the Pabst Brewing Company early in the evening. The damage was estimated at about $250,000 for 1909 money, which is
way more now.
One worker was killed and another was injured. The Pabst Brewing Company filed a claim with its insurer, the Hartford Steam Boiler Inspection and Insurance Company, to recover damages from the explosion. And what devastation. Beer on the ground. Man down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so what would cause a boiler to explode like that?
Heat, maybe something clogging a pipe, because I mean you're getting all that
A lot of
steam
backed
backing
up
up,
pressure.
it's backing up that pressure and just letting rip. I mean, it's too bad somebody got killed in it. I mean, it's a sad day for beer all around the world.
Right. I can't imagine being this person's family and hearing that, just a casualty of the workplace. I mean,
The only good news that came out of it, it was raining PBR for a day.
for a minute, right?
Yeah, people were head outside with their tongues out, like the Charlie Brown
Yeah,
movie,
to spin it and put maybe just a little bit of a, I don't know,
Happy
a happy
twist.
image to it if you want.
Yeah.
People were just, hey, going outside and, like you said, just opening their mouth and getting some free PBR, baby.
Do you want to drink some 3Bs?
Yeah. Yeah, PBR is great.
It's kind of it's been my go-to for a lot of years here.
Yeah,
For like the cheap beer.
That's the thing. I think for a good amount of time, I ran to PBR as just sort of the staple go-to. Now I'm a little bit different. Bush Light, Miller Light, something. They're all basically the same at that point when you put the light at the end of it. But
Yeah, and actually go back to one of our episodes. We talked about Fred Pabst. You can learn a little bit more about their family history if you wish.
Yeah.
Today we're here with Clinton from Working Drafts Brewing Company in Madison, Wisconsin. How are you doing, Clinton?
Good. How are you guys?
Not too bad.
doing well.
So we were wondering, can you give us a little story about how Working Draft got their start?
Yeah, so it all started, basically sprouted essentially from another business. The one thing that myself and my partners, or a couple of my partners, have in common is that we all worked at the Wine and Hop Shop, which is a homebrew shop in Madison that's been around since like the 70s. It was started before before homebrewing was even legal in the U.S., but we all work there, and so our CFO, Ben Pfeifferich, is the owner of Wine and Hop Shop. Our CEO, Ryan Brown, worked there, and then I worked there as well for a couple of years. And I went on and did different things. I worked at a couple different breweries in the Madison area. I worked at Vintage Brewing Company and Wisconsin Brewing Company. And then Ryan approached me and said, hey, we're opening up a brewery. The spot that they had was great, and the concept sounded cool. And so eventually it kind of came around that I was interested in maybe looking for a different job, and they were looking for a head brewer, and it all kind of came together. And so I came on board, and we ended up having an inn at a pretty cool spot in Madison, kind of nestled between Near East Side and downtown, in an old RP pasta building. And so yeah, they kind of started with Ryan had been toying around with the idea of opening a brewery in like his garage, and was running into all sorts of regulatory hurdles and stuff like that with that concept. And so he was looking to do something smaller, and then that connection through Ben kind of got us in this other location that was pretty ideal, and that's kind of what kickstarted the idea of doing something on a bigger scale and not doing just like a little garage brewery. And then, yeah, that's kind of went from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. I've shopped at the
Hop Shop.
The Hop Shop. Yep.
Yep.
And we actually went up there, and because we used to brew some homebrew, me and my co-host here.
Yeah.
And that was kind of our go-to place. Everyone was really knowledgeable there. So yeah, I recommend everyone checking that place out. If you're a home brewer, that place is awesome.
Yeah, it's a staple in the community for sure.
It is. And yeah, so I was going to ask you, what current beers, if we were to come to Working Draft, what current beers do you guys have on tap?
So, right now our tap room is closed because of COVID. We've decided to, just keep ourselves and our staff and our customers safe and not open up at all.
Yeah.
And we don't have a patio or anything, so we don't really have like a good way to keep people safe. So we have no actual like beer on draft. What we do, but we fill crawlers and stuff from draft, but we're also putting most of our stuff into 16-ounce cans. We are, however, doing to-go sales from the brewery, so you can stop by and order stuff there, and we'll do like no contact payment, pick up, all that stuff. So we got a really good, safe system set up. But the beers that we have right now we've got a whole slew of different hazy IPAs. Pulp Culture is kind of our flagship. Old Fontal Caps is another hazy IPA. It's All Metric is a single hop Citra hazy IPA. We've also got a good selection of lagers. We've got No Estimol, which is our kind of Vienna style Mexican lager modeled after like Victoria, stuff like that. We've got our Oktoberfest. We've got a Helles. God, I'm trying to think of what else we've got out there. We got a couple of clear IPAs. We got Near East, was a kind of classic West Coast piney IPA, and then we've got more of that stuff coming down the pipeline. So it's a pretty good selection of to-go stuff. And then also we have a 1-barrel brewing system too, so that's kind of like feeding our crowler sales. So everything that we do on the small batch system gets sold through crawlers. So we just released a New Zealand IPA, or New Zealand Pilsner, I mean. And yeah, there's so many things. We're trying to put new stuff all the time, so it's hard for me to remember all of them.
Yeah, it sounds like there's something for everybody, really.
Yeah, we try.
Yeah, I really love the like the single malt, single hop. It's just real. I love those beers so much because you get the flavor of each one before you know, especially for like a home brewer. If you really want to know the flavor of that hop, I love doing that. I love those kind of beers.
Totally, yeah. They're one of my favorite things to do too. Mainly from like an experimental standpoint, you don't really know the full like breadth of what you get from a malt or a hop until you actually use it in a beer. I mean, you can rub it and you can smell it, you can make teas with it, but it just isn't the same. It's got to go through the entire process before you really know what you're going to get from it.
Right.
Yeah, I know what we did a Mosaic, Citra, and we've done a Galaxy just to try the flavors before we made like a custom IPA kind of thing to get what we wanted to mix together. It's just a great way to make IPA in my opinion. But
yeah, I agree.
All right. So before we let you go, we always ask our little segment, how Wisconsin are you? It's about 10 questions and just some things, you know, a normal Wisconsinite has to go through.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. Question 1. Have you ever eaten a squeaky cheese curd?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Do you have a place you recommend grabbing one of those squeakers?
You know, I don't have a place I recommend. I feel like I've not found a single spot. It's hit or miss. Like, I feel like that's the good judge of like how good a cheese curd is. And sometimes you get ones that are just mushy and
you're right.
Got the squeak to them, and sometimes you get the squeaky ones. I guess I haven't found a reliable squeaky cheese curd spot.
Yep, I totally agree. I think farmers markets or some of the local smaller grocery stores tend to have a few, but gas stations every once in a while that you get a really good one.
Yeah, they're out there.
It's funny because like you go to the truck stops and like a complete mash. It's not like an actual squeaker. It's just like a mash of cheese.
Yep, it's basically mashed potato cheese.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Have you ever tailgated at a Brewers, Packers, or a Badgers game?
I have tailgated at a Brewers game and at a Packer game.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, the Packers is the classic. Obviously, you got to get the brats in there, and
yeah, I've actually never been to Camp Randall in Madison, so that's something I got to put on my list.
You know, I've actually never been there too. I've driven past it a million times.
Yeah, exactly.
I've not actually been in the building.
It stinked because I lived at the Regent for a short time when I went to school there. So like every time a Badgers game, you couldn't even move. Like you're basically stuck there.
I would imagine traffic and everything would be.
It's
horrible.
Outrageous.
Yeah, it gets pretty nuts down there.
Yeah. Have you ever rocked a cheese hat?
You know, I don't. I'm sure I've like worn one briefly in like a gift shop or something. I've never owned one and like really worn it for any period of time.
Yeah, I think mine is the same. I think Russ's stepmom probably has one, and I probably put it on.
We wore it there,
but otherwise I don't own one. I never had one, so
I think one time we got drunk and wore it and jumped in the pool with it or something. But
yeah.
We all know somebody who's got one. Like,
exactly.
We've all had access to one.
Yep.
Have you ever hit a deer?
I haven't. My wife has.
Well, hey,
I've not hit a deer yet.
That's good luck, though.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, I
not really sure.
The one guy we had on here like literally massacred a whole family.
Yeah,
or something.
He took out a whole tribe of deer in one go. So.
Oh yikes! I did that to a raccoon family one time.
Oh.
Didn't feel very good about it.
Those little trash bandits.
A little side story. One time there was a raccoon in the middle of the night, and I swerved, and I heard thump thump, and I hit the two babies behind it. Literally, like,
oh no,
yeah, literally, like when it comes to the end of my life, and let's say there is a hell, I'm going there, and those little raccoon babies are gonna be middle fingering me,
clawing you in the eyeballs.
Yeah, I bet.
Have you ever milked a cow?
I have not.
You have not. Yeah, a lot. That's kind of an uncommon one. Unless you've lived on a farm, it's not a normal one. So.
Yeah, that one's a very common no.
Have you ever
I
been
can see that.
Have you ever been to a tractor pull?
Technically, yes. I don't think I've ever sat and watched a tractor pull, but the town I went to high school in, Jefferson, has Jefferson County Fair grounds are there, so that was always a big part of the fair. So I've definitely been in close proximity to a tractor pull, but I don't think I've ever sat and actually watched it.
Yeah, I used to go to the Jefferson County swap meet
Oh yeah.
every year, and so I'm familiar with the area for sure.
Yep, same fairgrounds.
Actually, there's a really cool place in Jefferson. Have you ever been to Heron's Landing?
I don't know if I have, actually.
That's a really cool place. They converted an old building there. It's a really cool bar. They have a lot of good taps.
Oh, nice.
I wonder if that was maybe a little bit.
It may not have been there when you were
my
there.
time. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I can maybe know the building you're talking about, but I don't. It had changed to a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
I know the only downfall is you got Tyson's Chicken and the dog food factory, so it'd be like a whirlwind of terrible smells when you're out there drinking. Which is
my parents' house is not far from that dog food factory, and I would get those terrible smells coming in through my window on hot summer nights. And
nice.
Really not really puts a damper on any cool breeze you might get coming through the window
right.
when it just reeks like dog food.
You turn the air conditioner off, and all of a sudden Purina just breezes in on
yeah.
you.
Yum.
It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. Have you ever been to a supper club, and do you have a favorite?
I have been to a couple. I don't know that I have a favorite. When I was working at Wisconsin Brewing Company, my former boss, Kirby Nelson, he's huge supper club fan and knows all of them in the state and which ones are the best. And so we definitely went to some with him. What's the one that's over? Toby's is the one that's off Stone Road. That one's pretty solid.
Yep. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, we've had some individuals talk about Toby's as well, so we'll have to. I have to get to that one. I know for sure.
It's funny because it's one of those places where you got to know the system. You go and you stand by the bar and order drinks and wait for somebody to ask if you need a table. There's nobody
exactly
a host or hostess waiting at the front door.
That's kind of the charm, if you will, and the allure of supper clubs. If they're doing it right.
If you go with somebody who's been there, you're just going to be completely confused.
Exactly. Yeah, you literally walk in and it's always just a crapshoot if you're going to actually get helped or not.
Yep.
Yeah, Kirby's a really nice guy. So one of my go-to beers used to be the Yankee Buzzard that they used to make. So I used to drink that one. Was kind of my go-to for a long time.
Yeah, it's a solid beer. I had a hand in making a lot of that Yankee Buzzard for a
That's
while.
That's awesome.
Nice.
All right, so beer brats. And do you guys have a beer at Working Draft you recommend trying?
Yeah, the Helles would be great. Any of our German-style lagers would work really well for that. Something probably malty and not overly hoppy would be good.
Okay.
You won't want pull too much bitterness from a hoppy beer.
All right, we got two more questions for you before we let you go today. Bloody Mary, how do you like to make yours?
Oh man, I like mine thick and spicy.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand a thin, watery Bloody Mary, so it's got to be. You almost got to chew it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Yeah, you should. It should be a feast. But also, I don't love them when they're really, really overly filled with vodka, where it's just the vodka is really splashing through more than anything. I don't like that.
Yeah, no, I don't like that either. I think that I like V8. I like not just straight tomato juice, like the vegetable juice blend.
Yep.
Got to get the. I'm not an A1 guy. I like using. I'm blanking on the name of the fish sauce stuff that Worcestershire sauce, Worcestershire sauce.
Yep.
And then I always do a blend of Cholula and Tabasco for my hot sauces.
Okay.
That sounds good.
That's a special mix right there.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
I like mine like a soup, but with a couple shots of vodka in it. So it's really thick. Yeah. It's just
a soup.
It's basically what it is.
Yeah.
It's just like a drunk soup.
Yep.
So pickle juice is important in there.
Yeah. That's what I always say. Splash of pickle juice, maybe a splash of olive juice. Always, it just adds whatever saltiness and just beautiful flavoring.
Yep.
All right, we got one more before we let you go. So besides Working Draft, is there a brewery that you recommend going to check out?
Anywhere or just in Wisconsin?
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere. Oh man. I mean, there's a million of them, right? I mean, I'm a huge Nuclearis fanboy. They're kind of leading the leading the charge in the state. So
Yeah.
really respect those guys. Obviously, the places I've worked, Wisconsin Brewing Company, Vintage, are awesome. But if we're going to go outside of Wisconsin, one of the breweries that really blew me away that I don't hear people talk about a ton is Four Noses, and they're in Broomfield, Colorado. They're just crush it. Everything I've had there, they do a really good job. They're not doing things that are super crazy and over the top. I'm not a huge fan of like the let's turn everything into a dessert in a glass movement that's happening in craft beer right now. So they're a really good example of a brewery that makes really awesome balanced hazy IPAs, really great lagers. Everything they do is pretty killer.
Awesome. I had never heard of that one.
Yeah.
We went to Fort Collins, Colorado, and we did like the New Belgium. We did Odell. But that one I had never
really
heard of.
I'm really bummed, honestly, we didn't get to see that one.
Yeah. I'm going to check that out, though, Four Noses. That's awesome.
Four Noses.
One more, if you're in the Colorado area, is check out Cellar West Artisanals.
Cellar West.
My buddy Zach runs that place, and he does a lot of the whole like ethos behind that place, and kind of the center of what they do is like barrel-aged bread beers, and they're just really wonderful. He does a great job and makes some good lagers as well.
Awesome. I love it. I love the suggestion.
But yeah, thank you, Clinton, for your time today. We really appreciate it. We're glad you came on. I know we kind of contacted you a long time, so I'm glad everything kind of worked out. And thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Yeah, you as well.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right. That concludes this episode of Wisconsin Drunken History Podcast.
If you enjoyed this vulgar display of Wisconsin, we recommend you subscribe via SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn.
Also, leave us a review on any one of those above-mentioned sites, and we can read one at the end of every show. Follow us on social media, and feel free to reach out, especially if there is a piece of history or weird news you'd love us to share or research, as well as highlight some local artists or music. Our website is projectcapestudio.com.
I'd also like to thank my friend and past coworker, Steph Skiback, for providing us with awesome podcast cover art, as well as the Dangits for intro and outro music, and all of you for listening. As always,
watch out for deer on the way home.